Well, hello everyone. To talk about right here, talk about for any sorts of job applications and also any sorts of teas of the matter. And whenever it comes to understanding about job applications, that what do we call that? To where if we get enough practice with applying for a job most of the time, and it could also be related to like an assessment or anything else that you're going to be thinking about, that working on a lot of times. And a lot of times it sure seems that way that it's all about prizes and maybe special offers and discounts, and a lot of times. And at the time you want to know too is that well, could you also maybe look at to where that you look through that window right there and want to know is to where if you see a surprise right in there, of something to look forward to or something like that. But a lot of times it sure seems that way that most of the time, though, that if there's any sorts of special offer, though, that it sure seems that way. That the one thing you want to look at is to where the talk about say if it goes by say is to where it's like junk in the box right here. And at the time you want to know too that really jobs though, jobs are supposed to be known as like tasks and duties, and also if you want to look at it as to where it's another way of how you want to call that is toward it, work and assign opportunities and any other sorts of important assessments or something like that. So a lot of times it sure seems that way that whenever you fill out a job application, that what's the first thing that really comes to your mind? Most of the time it's a paycheck, right? But half the time you want to know too is that well, before you are officially hired for that job though, that there's what you call this empty box right here that contains that could contain paperwork that needs to be done, or it could also contain a certain surprise. So, but half the time, probably thinking too, it's like, and there ain't nothing in it. But the way I think about it, though, is that half right here is like talk about for the junk in the box, right? And half the time you likely want to know too is to where that how many times are we gonna maybe think is to where that it's like if we cause is to where that there ain't nothing in it. But still, it sure seems that way that whenever you do find something in it, then a lot of times you weren't. To where how surprised you are whenever you do see this something that's in. If it's an envelope or if it is what you calls knowing like that box of surprises, right? But at the time, we want to know too that what does it usually mean whenever you hear about maybe recalls on certain products and anything else, like whenever you do shopping around, and like anybody say that shopping on eBay or any other internet site, and if you're going to maybe be hearing about recalls or maybe ticket orders or something like that. So a lot of times it sure seems that way that you may think that something would only take you maybe 5 minutes to go ahead and fill out an application, and like anybody says to where an application right here, for the most part, it's but you'll really that application right there is supposed to be, if anything, maybe 4 pages or something like that to where answer a few questions and all. But still, there's something about the job application, like anybody say too, if you're going to be on your phone, you're just doing stuff, and at the time you probably think it's toward it, I have a job interview and all, but it sure seems that way that for what we call is toward it, if there's something in there, like if there's something in it, or that, like anybody say too, that, really, at the time you probably think it's toward, there ain't nothing in it, really. The way I think about it is we're talking about for junk in the box. Hey, I don't really know if jobs also is another word or phrase as to word junk in the box, or if anything, just a jump start to that traditional normal day or something like that. But in case of anybody that may wonder to where if you get mad enough to where you're just going to maybe call it something like, typical junk in the box. But sometimes it sure seems that way. It is to where that, there ain't nothing in it. But the way I think about it, though is that whenever it comes to toilet paper, and at the time you want to know too is that what do you usually think that if you see a toilet paper roll with a message like this saying something like as to where you've seen it before, and like anybody say too that when we're talking about toilet paper, if there was a recall on the toilet paper, and people think it too is to where if there was a recall on the toilet paper, and you probably say, well, if it's been used, does it still need to go back if it's been used? But at the time, you want to know too is to where I've seen that before, huh? But, people say is to where that even while you were shaving, that you probably think is to where, like, and yeah, there ain't nothing in it. But the way I think about it, though, is that, yeah, you're talking about right here, is this example right here of what you call the source of empty box right here. And people say is to where, yeah, do you really just have to shake this around just a little bit, just to get it to rain, any source of gold or any source of coins or anything like that. And everybody says too is to where that, yeah, a number of times that you turn in an application right here, and half the time you probably thinking too is that the whole experience with, for that job opportunity and everything, and it sure seems that way to where that, yeah, for the most part, whenever you turn in an application most of the time, that which you can remember is to where that, yeah, you start out with an empty box right here, like anybody says, to where number one, if you just really gotta know how the system works and you know about what all, whenever you do apply for a job, though, it sure seems that way. That yeah, well, your box right here, yeah, most of the time it's either a coupon or if it's maybe a special opportunity or something like that. But anybody probably says to it, really, there ain't nothing in it. But the way I think about it, though, is that yeah, that what does it usually mean? Whenever you do wind up receiving a gift card or any source of sweepstakes or anything like that. In case of anybody that may want to know too, that any source of sweepstakes or something like that. If I think it too is that yeah, that this right here, of course, you'll look through that window right there, and you're probably thinking too is to where there's what you call that special surprise in there. And like anybody says, to where really do jobs really come by fact about with by surprise, or if anything, jobs can be described in a variety of ways. And one of those ways, of course, is more like gonna be is toward yeah, it's if it's all about is toward it the source of attention, or if anything, anybody says toward it really between if there's something in it or there's nothing in it, or like this, or there's possible that it's too like yeah, for anything that is so far as that, understanding about really, you have right here is this example right here, this box right here. Like anybody say too, that if you turn this box sideways, what do you think that equality would be equal to, huh? Do you think that it's going to be what you call half and half, to where that, yeah, it goes by as to where that, yeah, for what goes around comes around, or anything else like that. And like I say, it's like, really, there ain't nothing in it. But the way I think about it, though, is like really, you just really have to be surprised at what you find inside that box, right? Because at the time, people would say is to where it's just like, yeah, you look through that window and find out that, hey, that, really, if there's really anything in there, or if anything, that it's just like what you call typical junk in the box. But some people might even say that, well, really, there's actually something in there, and it just beat by surprise, right? But at the time, it sure seems that way. That whenever it comes to thinking about a roll of toilet paper right here, and people think is toward yeah, with that roll of toilet paper right there, what do you usually think about whenever you do see a roll of toilet paper and you see something like such as seen it? Anybody say, yeah, I'm sure that we've seen that right there. And half the time you want to know too is that, yeah, the last time you used a roll of toilet paper, it was actually, in case of anybody that may ask me too, is to where the last time you used a roll of toilet paper, was it really, just take care of business, or was it really, over the fact of the matter is that, was it really about the fact that, yeah, whenever you were last at using that roll of toilet paper, though, that you were actually trying to get some idea about as to where yeah, for what looks better than compared to the other. But the way I think about it, though, is that really, that whenever it comes to, yeah, certain items that are recalled and, anything else for what you hear about, and you'll probably think is toward that, you want to know, too, why is it that you can't keep certain items stocked, in anywhere around the house? And half the time you probably think is toward, yeah, well, really, if you go and put in a ticket order, but half the time you want to know, too, is toward, does that really come by surprise or not? Anybody say is toward, yeah, there ain't nothing in it. But the way I think about it too is that when we're talking about understanding about jobs, and so you're probably thinking as to where the yeah, well, jobs though, jobs can be explained in a variety of ways, right? And half the time you're probably thinking as to where jobs can be explained in a variety of ways, but how many of us are really going to think about it is toward that message in the box like this, to where the yeah, look through a window right here just to be able to visualize. It's like, yeah, and anything that like, yeah, if you go ahead and you fill out an application, what exactly is it that you're looking for in that box right there. And people might even say is to where really what you really are looking for, if anything, is an order. Like order for like any products or anything else that you're going to be shopping around for, right? But at the time, you probably want to know too, is to where if you find an envelope inside that box, and you're probably thinking too, is to where to really, there's something in it, alright? It's supposed to be a surprise. But the way I think about it though is like, yeah, if you've seen this before, and at the time you're probably thinking too that yeah, a roll of toilet paper right there. And if we were to look at that right there, it's like, you're right, do we really have to measure about how much is on that roll before you really have to process another application, and it goes like they say that yeah, well, if there's going to be what you call a recall on a certain item or anything like that. But at the time you want to know too is like, is there something in it or there's nothing in it. But the way I think about though is like, yeah, that talking about, for the most part though, it's like I talk about for applications though, that we all know that whenever you do fill out an application, there's going to be questions and all that. But it sure seems that way toward it. Whenever we think about jobs, though, that jobs, there's something more about it than just what you call is like to where the typical, if you want to call it junk in the box, and then there's also another way of how you would describe it is toward it. Talk about for jobs, though. The typical, the typical jumping around duty toward it, talking about anything such as toward it, joy best observe, to the best of careers or something like that for what it stands for. And at the time, you probably think it is toward it, yeah, that when we think about jobs, though, you probably think it is toward it, do you really, whenever you put in a job application, though, that the first thing that you're going to maybe want to know, too, is to where, if there's something in it, or it's like anybody says, to where, yeah, there ain't nothing in it. But really, though, that I just really think, too, that that understanding about the purpose about the job right here, and like anybody say too, is to where like, and really, whenever you're going to be working on anything such as job application or something like that. And people say is to where if you're going to be working on any sorts of application, though, it's like, and really, there is no reason if you holding the phone up like that, just to take a picture, like anybody says to where, yeah, holding the phone up to, like, yeah, if you're trying to take a picture of something and maybe, like, just for verification purposes, maybe just to represent for an insurance card, though. At the time, you want to know, too, is to where that, holding the phone up like that is just like looking through a mirror whenever you're brushing your hair, or even whenever you're shaving, or even whenever you're putting your makeup on. And anybody says to where, yeah, well, really, that, if you're going to be doing that, and half the time, no, what exactly does that really remind you of? And half the time, everybody else might even say that, it reminds me of a makeup kit, or if anything, it's just going to be what you call that typical way of, the old-fashioned way of, yeah, if anything, shaving, and also, brushing your teeth or anything else that like, yeah, the things that you normally would spend time in the bathroom doing, but half the time you want to know too is to where, spending time filling out an application, though, you probably think it's to where, yeah, I didn't think that even bathroom breaks were even included. But let's just say that if there was anything such as any sort of break or some sort, and people say is to where there ain't nothing in it. But really, though, I just really think that whenever it comes to filling out an application, though, And people I say is toward that whenever you're going to be filling out any sorts of application, really, that whenever it comes to understanding about is toward jobs, that it's more than just four pieces of paper right here and just answer a few questions, but talking about looking through a window right here, like got this box right here, and let's just say if there's going to be a message in there, stating to where something like, that there's been an update on the application, and so it sure seems that way to where that most of the time that message is going to say something like, still processed, or if anything, that we got a special surprise inside that box that's waiting for your attention. And so a lot of times that you would see them, but still, I just want to show everybody, I'm like, you're talking about that if we were to think about that in application most of the time, then what exactly do we see necessarily when we look through a window of an envelope right here? And people are thinking too is to where the number of times that I'm like, you might see it on like these sweepstakes or something like that. But still, that I know for the most of the time, no, that that box of surprises or something like that, that you're probably thinking is toward you might see that. But still, that on sweepstakes, but still, that whenever you look through the window right there, though, that there might say that there'll be a surprise right there, and so half the time it sure seems that way. That whenever we think about a box of surprises right here, and you're probably thinking is toward if that's really something that you ordered, or if anything, that's just what you call another way of how the system works and how the system processes the application. But half the time, it sure seems that way. That like everybody else will probably say too, that the last time you bought a roll of toilet paper, from last year, that if anything, you would maybe want to write a message on that roll of toilet paper saying something such as "seen it," or if anything, anybody says like anybody says to where there ain't nothing in it. But really, it's like you look at that box right there, and you want to know too, is like, really, what does that usually mean whenever you see the top of the lid right here? And 102 is that the top part of the lid right here, and at 102 that the last time you checked that box right there, it was open like that right there. What exactly does that mean? There ain't nothing in it. But really, though, that I just really think too that whenever it comes to understanding about jobs, that that the last time that we were applying for a job, though, like everybody else would probably say too, that whenever you're going to be applying for a job or you're working on any sort of job, really, that it seems like to me though that you would probably say on there something like that, I am looking for part-time employment, or it's just seasonal work or something like that. Like anybody say this word, I think I've seen that already. Man, you put in the application before, man, and I think you said the same thing before, that you've seen it already. I think, haven't you? And but still, that what you said on the application was that are you looking for part-time or full-time work? So a lot of times it sure seems that way, that whenever you go apply for a job, it sure seems that way, that there's a lot more to it than just compared to looking at that 4-page document. And so it sure seems that way that I don't know, like anybody say too, is toward it, if, like anybody say that whenever you apply for a job, that what's the thing that you're going to maybe say on that cover letter? Besides is to where, like, and there is no reason, to be holding the phone up like that. But the way I think about it, though, is that really, do you want to maybe put something like this on a cover letter, such as this, to where, I think I've seen that already, and like, you're gonna maybe see, if anything, that you're gonna maybe see a message on that toilet paper roll right there, saying such as this, to where, I saw that. And to where if there's anything in that, or in case of anybody that may want to know too, that, about how many inches of toilet paper are equal to a roll, and half the time is like to where it seems like that's about how many applications I put in. But a lot of times it sure seems that way, that talk about you to where it's like for junk in the box though. But it sure seems that way to where that yeah, when we think about jobs though, that's just another way of how people probably say is to where that yeah, just try to keep yourself busy with at least something, something, is say important, or if anything, like anybody says to where there ain't nothing in it. But really though, the way I think about it too is like you really to just be surprised, for what you get. But anyway, thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great day.